Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Business Advantage TV podcast, which, I'm almost certain, will once again be the 21 Hats podcast. I know I've said this before, but more about that very soon. Meanwhile, I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, Dana White, Laura Zander, and Jay Goltz talk real estate. Dana recently decided to close one of her hair salons rather than keep dealing with an overly aggressive landlord. Laura, fearing her landlord in Texas is going to toss her out, has decided to buy a building. But she hasn't been able to close on the deal because while she's been to 6 banks, she has yet to find one that will fund the loan, even though she already has SBA approval for the loan. And Jay wants to take out a mortgage on a building he owns outright just to have some extra cash on hand. But he's on his 10th bank. You can't get discouraged, Jay tells Laura, to which Laura responds, "Come on, what do you mean you can't get discouraged? You see my face? It's called discouragement." We sort it all out. Plus, we've got the return of the Morning Report news quiz. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will, if nothing else, let owners know they are not alone in facing these challenges. This week's lineup features Jay Goltz, whose companies in Chicago include a picture frame business, artist frame service, and a home furnishing store, Jason Home. Laura Zander, who is CEO of Jimmy Bean's Wool, a digital version of a neighborhood yarn shop that is based in Reno, Nevada, and also has a wholesale supplier, Madeline Tosh, in Fort Worth, Texas. And Dana White, who is CEO of Paralee Boyd, a chain of hair salons based in Detroit. The episode is titled, Landlords in Real Estate and Banks. Oh my. Let's get started. One problem this crisis has created is a standoff between business owners who have no revenue or reduced revenue and landlords who still want to get paid for the rent. Dana, I think you've told us in the past that you actually closed one of your locations in part because of your struggle with your landlord. Can you remind us about that?
Sure. So I did. I closed the Southfield location in July, in large part due to the struggle with the landlord. I noticed in that plaza, I wasn't the only business who left during that time. I don't think the landlord viewed our relationship as a partnership. I think he viewed it as, you work for me. And he has several businesses. So, it wasn't a conversation, even though a conversation was attempted. The conversation was, okay, so when are you going to pay me and how much? I was in a very aggressive and debilitating repayment cycle with him that I could not endure and keep my business. So I chose to shut down that location. And we have been in court back and forth.
He's still trying to get his money.
Yes. And here's the thing. He will get his money. But what you're not going to do is harass me and be mean and try to send me to jail. That's what you're not going to do. My attorneys, the landlord's attorney actually tried to issue a bench warrant for my arrest.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah. So when I took over the space, there was inventory that was there, and I signed saying, yes, it was there. But in order for me to renovate the space, his management people came and took all that inventory out. Well, he has over 150 tenants. He doesn't know. So when I returned what I had, they said, well, where is the stuff? And I said, well, that's what I had. Well, no, in September of 2012, when you took over, this is what we had. And I said, yes, but you all removed that so I could renovate. And so the attorney says, Judge, can we issue a bench warrant for the arrest of Dana White for the 2 mirrors and 2 chairs that are missing? And she said, sir, this is a pandemic. We're not even picking up criminals. We're not even issuing bench warrants for criminals.
This was over 2 mirrors and 2 chairs?
No. This is just all intimidation. He knew he wasn't going to get it. He just wants to show what a big, bad lawyer he is, and he's trying to scare you. That's what this is all about.
The judge eventually dropped it because it's ridiculous and it's a play. So we're at the point now where we're going to come to a settlement agreement, which I will pay. I really don't want anything in the way of some of the opportunities I have coming, down the line. I just want this done.
How are things at that other location?
Slow.
Well, in terms of your relationship with your landlord?
Wonderful.
So your revenue has to be down there. You just said it was slow, but you've come to an accommodation with that landlord?
Absolutely. They are, I mean, this landlord, every time there's a loan or a grant that needs to be that she feels I qualify for, she texts me or emails me. That's a partner, right? She's doing what she feels she has to do to keep this tenant in business.
Because there's not a long line of people waiting to rent these spaces, and somebody needs to remind the landlords of that, really.
Yeah, our guy in Texas, he immediately was like, their office was sending us, hey, did you know about the PPP? Did you know about the EIDL? Did you know about this? Let us cut your rent in half for the first couple months, and then we'll see how it goes.
Laura, you inherited that landlord when you bought the yarn supplier, Madeline Tosh, there late last year, right? That's who you're talking about.
I did, yes.
But it sounds like you developed a pretty good relationship. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yes, he was, yeah, in some ways,
think being
yes.
the operative word.
Yeah.
She thinks so.
Yes and no. I mean, there were, he had actually never been, he owns a ton of property in the Fort Worth area. And as it turns out, he had never been to this operation before, to this space. And they had been in this space for, 8 years, 10 years. So he didn't know what they had been doing, and didn't know about all of the different changes that they had made to his building. I'd never gotten approval for any of those changes. And so we do have a good relationship. He stops by every time I'm in town and we talk a little bit. But he got very involved. I mean, he started coming in every other day. He would come in early in the morning. He'd come in when I was not there, checking in on the staff and, really checking in on his building because it had been changed a lot, and so all of a sudden he wanted to make sure that his building was okay. So we are going to leave there. I mean, the lease ends at the end of December, and he was really good. He said, we'll give you half off of rent for, I think it was April and May. And the lease originally was supposed to end at the end of July, I think at the 1st of August. He's like, we'll give you half off, but only if you extend the lease until December 31st. And I'm like, okay. I mean, that seemed fair. And that made sense, for him not to try to look for new tenants at the end of the year. But I don't think he's going to renew our lease at the end of December. So we're kind of scrambling right now. But that's unrelated to, the pandemic or anything else.
Well, yes and no. I mean, because of the pandemic, he's going to have a harder time finding a new tenant. So it's not totally unrelated.
I don't know about that. We ended up letting the space. They had been leasing 4 different units. And so we gave one of the units back to him in June because we just didn't need that space. And he had somebody interested. I mean, he's already filled it. He filled it last month. And the reason he started coming to us is because he had somebody who was interested in the space that we're in now, which now expires at the end of December. So he's got people lined up.
Okay, good for him.
Yeah, I know. Good for him.
So one question this raises is, how great would it be if you owned your own location? Jay, you've been in that position for quite some time. How did that come to be?
23 years ago, I was a tenant, and the neighborhood was getting hotter and hotter, and the block was getting hotter and hotter. And when I moved in 1978, it was basically in an abandoned factory district. I was paying $1 a square foot for rent. I was paying $200 for, 2,000 feet or something. So, over the next 20 years, the neighborhood was turning into a hot block. So I recognized I was going to get pushed off the block. So a building came up for sale next door, and I decided I needed to buy it as a placeholder just for when that happened. So I got an SBA loan, which is one of the greatest things the government does. And I put down 10%. And I bought the building, and then luckily the building next door came up for sale 2 years later, and I bought that building, again on an SBA loan. And it is clearly one of the critical pieces to my survival and to my net worth. And I can't tell you, I was smart enough or had someone whispering in my ear, hey, Jay, you better buy some buildings. I did it out of necessity. But now I tell people, probably, there certainly are exceptions to this. You are probably better off buying a building, especially if you're in retail where people are coming to. If you're in an office, that doesn't matter where you're at, maybe not as important, but it's a critical piece to my stability at this point. I own 3 buildings and a parking lot, and it gives me a lot more stability as things go bad.
How hard was it for you to afford it?
I came up with 10% of, I don't remember what it was, 500. It wasn't that much money. The part that did sweat was I bought it for land value. The building was just falling down. This roof was caving in. There was no heating. It was a warehouse. I figured I'd put a couple $100,000 in to fix it up, which of course turned into $600,000. And I was totally stretched out and totally stressed out, and was clearly one of the most difficult periods in my business. It was extremely painful, but it was a game changer.
How long was it painful? I mean, are you talking like, 12-hour labor painful, or are you talking this was 2 years?
I would say a couple. It was painful for a year or two until I finally. There's multiple layers of pain. There's also that Jay's nuts and got into a business he knew nothing about. Oh, we used to sell plants. There's no plant stores around here. So I opened up a store. It was called Jason Home and Garden. We opened up a store to sell plants, and my home store was still it was across the street. And the only problem was I knew nothing about plants. So I opened up this store. I hired people that I thought knew what they were doing, and it was a couple years of pain. This is what I've done for 42 years. I get into stuff over my head. I choke on it, and I do figure it out eventually. It takes me a year or two, but I did figure it out. But I'm not saying this is the way to do business. It's just the way
Is there like a moment where you're just like, okay, the pain is over? I mean, in a marathon, at least you know where the finish line is.
Well,
right?
This is exactly a moment I had. The woman that runs the store's father is an architect, and I had a relationship with him. He always comes to our openings and stuff. And I walked up to him during our opening for the garden store, and I was absolutely at the end of my rope. And I said to him, I'm completely freaked out. I spent $500,000 more than I thought. And I went through the whole thing, and he started laughing. And I walked away and I said, Caroline, what's with that? She goes, Jay, you don't understand. You're from a different culture than it. My father's not used to people being that honest, and he just didn't know what to say. If it was my Uncle Irving, he would have put his hand around my shoulder and said, Jay, it always costs more when you build these buildings. Don't worry about it. You're going to be really glad you bought it in the long term. So I am your Uncle Jay, and I'm telling you, it's okay.
Laura, tell us, where do you stand? You have to leave your current location. What are you doing?
Well, we're trying to buy a building. So we put an offer in June, July, I think. We found a place. It must have been the beginning of July. Spent about 2 months working with the bank that we always use.
The bank you always use in Nevada?
Yeah. Well, it's U.S. Bank. So it's a U.S. bank. But yeah, big bank. So got down to August 14th, and we were supposed to, I think we were supposed to close at this point, like at the end of August, no, early September. So we're about 30 days. We're just a couple days away from the due diligence period closing. And the loan officer sends a note and says, sorry, if this went, I just reread it, and he said this went like 4 levels above what it normally needs to go to for approval. And with COVID and with your industry being retail and e-commerce, we're putting in, new standards, and you don't meet the new standards.
Madeline Tosh is not a retail business. You mean you sell to retailers? Is that the issue?
It's a part. I mean, 30% of the business is retail.
Oh, is that right? I didn't...
No,
Yeah.
let me cut to the chase. They all lie. They don't want to deal with small business. End of the story. U.S. Bank doesn't need you. They don't need me. They don't need small business. They got big business to deal with. And you started at the wrong bank, and a smaller bank needs our business. And I've been through this 10 times. These big banks always tell you, no problem. We want to do this. We're excited. They come out with their loan officers. You think you're doing, and then all of a sudden out of the clear blue, somebody somewhere back in Ohio or Toledo, somewhere decides that, in my case, I was with the big bank, and they literally the day before I was supposed to close told me they couldn't give me the money. And I one of my friends luckily had a credit line. He lent me money till I could change banks. I asked the banker a year later, he called me because he had already changed banks. He said, well, you know how it goes. I go, no, tell me. He said, the new guy didn't like retail. That was the entire explanation. The new guy didn't like retail. That was the whole explanation. So I'm telling you, the big banks don't need you.
Dana, you're listening to all this. I'm wondering, as you think about one day opening another location, are you thinking you want to buy, or are you thinking you want to deal with another landlord?
I'm thinking I want to deal with another landlord. Eventually buy, but, own the buildings, put Purely Boyd in those buildings. But, everything is so different now. This conversation 8 months ago or a year ago, everything is just so different. And I think
because of COVID.
Yes, because of COVID. And so buying, it's just not on my radar right now.
Well, but to be fair to what you're doing, you might need a high traffic downtownish location, and that kind of real estate in a smaller thing might not exist. So for you, if you want to be on a busy street in a bigger building, that's not the kind of building you can buy. So for you, it might not make any sense to buy a building.
Yeah. For me, I don't believe it does. Eventually, maybe, but I'd like to take all that I've learned in dealing with landlords and put that to use, and then maybe eventually become one for Purely Boyd, be the best landlord I've ever had, right? It's myself. Plus, there's economic gains to being your own landlord, how you pay yourself and, how you leverage that.
A big part of it for us is I had an agent who broke it down for me in the leasing versus buying, because now we have two in some ways, very different kinds of businesses. The business in Texas is manufacturing. So we need to change the space. We need to put $100,000 to $200,000 into the space so that we can use it to manufacture, right? So we've got to get vents and, plumbing and this and that. Whereas the other business is distribution. We just need pallet racks. And so, we can really be anywhere. So the other one is a little more dependent. We need to put more investment in. Doug, feels really strongly, and I agree, after experiencing the landlord, nice guy, but, being in the building all the time, he threatened to kick us out one day because, they had the fans turned the wrong way or something. And it was just a light threat, but kind of being under that umbrella of being constantly threatened, if we can be our own masters, I think that is really appealing. Plus, if we need to invest 100 or 200 grand to make this space into something that's usable, why do that in somebody else's building, if possible? That said, we may not be able to get a loan. I mean, I'm on bank 6, and it's been one large bank and then 5 small banks.
What are they telling you?
It's just a slow process. So I've got the one bank that I've invested a lot of energy in. It's a local Texas bank. And I'm supposed to find out today. It's at what do they call it? Convergence? No, concurrence. So it's the last 2 guys, so.
Are you trying to get an SBA
yes.
loan?
Yeah.
Do they do a lot of SBA loans?
Yes. And the SBA agent is who recommended this bank. And the SBA has already given us approval.
Great.
So we have approval from the SBA. So I've got one bank in Nevada who said, we would love to do it, but because it's in Texas, we can't. After I spent 2 weeks kind of giving all the documentation, going through,
I can't tell you how many times I've been through stuff with them where they string you along for a month or two, and then all of a sudden they tell you something that my kid went for a mortgage at the same big bank. I said, you're wasting your time. He does development. He finally, after 5 weeks, they said, yeah, we can't give you the mortgage because you make your money on capital gains. And it's like,
why couldn't you tell me that 5 weeks ago?
They didn't know that when he started. I mean, it's unbelievable. So this is what I've learned. They're salespeople. That's what they are. They're salespeople, and they go back to the underwriters who are in some room somewhere with no windows, figuring out whatever they do with their spreadsheets, and then they bury you. And
But now I'm on a timeline because our lease is up December 31st, and I've got to, we can't just move. I mean, we need to build. It's going to take us probably a month.
Your landlord can't throw you out overnight. If you have to go back to him and say, listen, sorry, but we can't move till March 1st, he's going to have to go along with you, because what is the options for him? Go get a court order.
Well, he can sue us. Yeah. So I've already planted that seed, and I'm like, we may need another month. We may need another month. So
it's not even just with buying property, though. It's even like, I have a girlfriend who's trying to open a second location. She's been trying to get a loan, and they told her to put her house up. They've told her to do all of these things, all of these hoops. And this has been going on for over a year.
Wow.
And again, there's nothing, oh, well, Dana, you may not know this, or, there's some things we don't know. No, it's this guy sitting in an office who doesn't like retail.
Big bank?
So no, it's a CDFI. It's a non-traditional lender. And the reason why they're more cautious than they were when I initially went through them is because some of the businesses that went through them prior to her, but after me, didn't do well with their money, meaning they would submit money, submit their final budget, submit to get a draw, and then use that money for something else other than what they other than the invoice they presented.
What kind of money is she looking for?
I think
$100,000.
$200,000 to $300,000.
And did she borrow against her house?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I'm just telling you, I'm here to say, from my perspective only, I've always borrowed against my house. Like, it's not the bank's responsibility to be my partner. Like, I've always been all in, and I use the equity in my house. And the fact of the matter is, to be fair to banks, they make a tiny little percentage on these loans. They can't afford for 10% of the loans to go bad. They go out of business. So I understand that they need security.
But that's what's making me crazy, Jay, is that we have enough equity in the homes. We have enough cash in the bank. Like, we have enough for it.
Which is why I'm confident we'll get a loan.
It's also a property. It's 4 acres, so we're being told that the land good God, is this exhausting?
Yeah.
Jay, have you been in a situation like Laura where you had approval from the SBA but couldn't get a bank to make the loan?
No, that's never happened. I've had 3 SBA loans, and they all went through, and everybody says, oh, it's so much. It really wasn't bad. It was fine.
Can you explain it? Why is Laura having a problem with it?
There's more behind this story. There's something going on at the bank, and God knows what, and they all... They're never honest. I hear I'm in the middle of trying to get a mortgage for my building with no mortgage on it, and I'm on my 10th bank, and I believe I've got the bank ready to do it, and I think I will, but it's like dating. You got to date 10 girls or boys before you find the right boyfriend or girlfriend to marry. These banks don't want to take risk, a lot of them.
Yeah. And I was going to say the other factor that we've got going here is that in the last 2 years, we've, acquired 3 brands. And so we've invested, and we did a bunch of investment in technology. So our books for the last 2 years don't look great.
There you go. That doesn't surprise me neither. I've done the same thing. So that's the answer.
They're doing all these ad backs. And,
they can't. All they want to do is, and in my case, this is a 0 risk loan. I have more than enough assets to cover these loans. I have enough life insurance to cover these loans. And all they do is they want to check the one box. Do they have the cash flow to pay for this loan? That's all. I don't care if you're worth $100 million. It's shocking. All they want to know is you have the cash flow. So it doesn't surprise me that your books don't look great for the last couple of years, because this is the same issue I'm having. They just want to see nothing but profits galore.
So here's my question. At what point do you throw in the towel? At what point do you decide this is not meant to be? Yeah,
no,
but
I don't
there's
believe
a point.
in that meant to be thing. I absolutely do not buy into meant to be. There is a bank that is looking for business right now that would love to do your loan, and you have to find that bank.
Laura, do you have the right location? Are you excited about what you found?
Well, I am, but I guess where we got scared, or I start to wonder, if I needed to just surrender and maybe this isn't meant to be, is because then we got thrown into a phase 2 environmental. So the due diligence period has actually taken 2 months now instead of just a month. We've had to push it back twice.
Okay, been through that, and I can tell you, part of real estate, phase 2, part of real estate, no big deal. They find an oil tank that was down there. They get a bulldozer, they take the oil tank out, they fill it in, not a big deal. I'm telling you, I've been through that. I've been through my the parking lot I bought. There was something in it, and my lawyer said, who is my brother-in-law, you can't buy it. It would have put me out of business. I called my friend in real estate. He goes, please, there's stuff in all the dirt in Chicago. You're not putting a well on. There's not a problem. This is just real estate stuff. Phase 2s are normal business.
And maybe it's meant to be because it is pushing it forward so that we can get the loan that we need. I mean, that's...
All right, stop with this meant to be. You're in control of your destiny. You are in control of your destiny.
Laura, you mentioned the equity in your home. So you've obviously made the decision that you're willing to borrow against your home. Was that a tough decision?
To be honest, I don't think they asked us that. They just, we have to give all of our personal financial information. So we gave them all of that stuff. But
you're signing personally. You're going to be signing personally.
Are we? Okay. Yeah. I think, we must have made that decision. I leave that to Doug because he's so much smarter financially than I am. But I think that when we were originally going to do the loan to buy the business, we were going to have to do the same thing. Yeah. So
banks are not venture capitalists. Venture capitalists make $1 zillion when the deals go well. Banks make a little tiny percentage. They're not in the business of sharing risk with you. So I get it. I just wish they'd be upfront. When you show up, you say, yeah, you know what? Don't waste your time with us. We're not going to do it. No, they drag you through 4 weeks and then they tell you like I said, I've been through this more than once. It's ridiculous.
All right.
You're getting the loan today. That's my prediction. And I say that not because of some spirit out there. You got sent to this bank by the SBA people. That's an excellent reference. I believe they're going to give you the loan because.
Yeah, no, I've met the presidents. One of the presidents came and picked me up at the airport.
Wow.
You know me. I took my only nice outfit and wore it and, show up and meet everybody there and tell them my story. They all watched my TED Talk. Apparently they are all like in love. And
okay. You're probably getting the loan. That's my answer.
And if not, Jay's on 10 banks. You're only on 6, Laura.
Right. Exactly. And every time you go through this, you get a little smarter. So now when I interview the banks, I know the right questions they ask, and I'm brutal to them. And I say, so what's the story? Like, for instance, here's something I didn't know. So I've got this new bank who my kid uses for his real estate stuff, and they're largely a real estate lending bank. And he told me in talking to him, listen, we really would like to get this loan because since it's owner occupied, we can put it on the books as a business loan. We get criticized for being too real estate heavy in our lending. So this is good for them. And that was good to know. I would have never known that. I would have never figured that out. So this is good for them. And they're looking forward to doing this loan because it'll help their portfolio balance. So I do believe I'm going to get it from them. And I got 2 others that are interested. So it's just, you can't get discouraged. It's about, and of the, you got
come on. What do you mean you can't get discouraged?
No,
you've never gotten discouraged?
I didn't say I've never
Watch this. See my face? It's called discouragement.
No, stop discouragement. Entrepreneurs can't have discouragement. We dig in and we forge on and we get the job done. That's what you're going to do. And more
that's
meant to be routine. That's not for entrepreneurs. There's no meant to be.
No, that's bullshit. That's like saying, I'm sorry, but that's like saying that you can't be scared. I can be discouraged.
You got to say this the podcast that we have on psychology. We'll save it for that one. But I'm telling you, if this one doesn't work, you go back to the SBA people and you say, okay, give me a different one, and they'll find.
Well, I got 3 other ones that are.
There you go. All right. We're going to stay on top of this, Laura. We're going to keep track of this. We'll come back to this topic, but guess what? back by unpopular demand, I have a morning report quiz for you guys today. As you may recall, these are questions taken from our daily email newsletter, which brings together all the news a business owner needs to read first thing every morning. You can subscribe at 21hats.com. You guys ready for the first question? I'll take that as a yes. Early this week, we highlighted a news item about a special travel adventure for those getting restless during the pandemic.
Oh, the flights to nowhere?
Laura, you're jumping the gun too quickly.
See?
Yes.
Well, come on, I got things to do.
Look at what a
This
winner
won't take long.
She's just a winner.
Let's go.
Well, let me finish the question next time. And just to finish this one so our listeners can know what you're talking about, Nippon Airways sold 300 tickets for a special Hawaiian resort-themed flight. And a Taiwanese airline sold 309 tickets for a special Hello Kitty-themed flight. The question was supposed to be, where did these flights go? Laura, the answer was...
nowhere.
They took off and returned to the same airport.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Question number 2. As usual, we had a few items this week that mentioned Amazon. Nope. One noted that Amazon has been limiting the ability of rival companies with products that rival Amazon products, to advertise on Amazon.com. In other words, the rival products don't get positioned as well on Amazon.com as Amazon products. Here's the question. What % of all product searches occur on Amazon.com?
42%.
Not a bad guess.
70%.
Dana says 70. Laura?
Yeah, I'd go 82.
Actually, it's 50%. I actually thought it would be higher too, but still a lot. Number 3, John Mackey, the founder and CEO of Whole Foods, likes to promote what he calls conscious capitalism. His stated goal is to get businesses to elevate humanity by recognizing that there are more important things than profits. Here's the question. Remind me again, which practitioner of conscious capitalism did John Mackey sell Whole Foods to?
Bezos.
Jeff Bezos, that's
ding,
right.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah. No
So
shame.
funny how profit is not important to the people who profit the most. It just
Exactly.
doesn't matter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 4, Instagram is now 10 years old. Our item this week noted that the social network was the first platform to understand that for all of us, our most important relationship is with A, Jeff Bezos, B, our landlord, or C, our phone. This is an easy one for Jay.
See our phone.
I don't even know what you're saying. What's Instagram?
You have a terrific Instagram feed for Jason Home. You should pay attention to it.
Yes.
You should check it out sometime.
The Telegraph is the answer.
Finally, last question. We had an item this week about the decline and fall of Magic Leap, a startup that raised $3.5 billion and a lot of hype to create an augmented reality headset. In 2012, some of that hype was generated by a TEDx talk that was titled The Synthesis of Imagination. The question is, that talk consisted entirely of the CEO, A, using a Magic Leap headset to guide him while making repairs to a car engine, using a Magic Leap headset to guide him while performing surgery, or the CEO wordlessly danced around in a spacesuit alongside several people in furry monster outfits. Laura, do you know the answer to this one?
I don't.
A, B, or C?
I don't want to know the answer
I'm
to
going to
this
say
one.
B or C.
Car engines, A. Performing surgery, B. Dancing with people in monster outfits, C. It was, of course, C.
Wait, you said it was $3.5 billion.
That's right.
Okay,
And
so
I can't
Laura
I can't buy a
can't get
building.
along, right? We can't get along to go buy some buildings to employ people and help commerce and make people happy. But this guy got $3.5 billion to dance around
For an idea.
For extra credit, tell me which publication that I used to work for wrote a cover story about this company that included this paragraph. Magic Leap's innovation isn't just a high-tech display, it's a disruption machine. This technology could affect every business that uses screens or computers and many that don't.
Can you hear my eye roll?
The whole goal of this quiz is to get you to groan, Jay. I think I'm almost there.
You're
Yeah,
there.
I can hear your
Mission
cataracts.
accomplished. Mission
Yeah.
accomplished.
Let me finish.
I don't want you to finish. Inc. Magazine.
Jay, I'm finishing. It's my podcast.
For the moment it is.
There's the groan. I got it. It could kill the $120 billion market for flat panel displays and shake the $1 trillion global consumer electronics business to its core. The applications are profound. Throw out your PC, your laptop, and your mobile phone because the computing power you need will be in your glasses.
Oh my gosh. Well, that's definitely not the New York Times.
Correct.
Inc. Magazine.
No.
Forbes?
It was Forbes. You got it, Dana.
Yeah.
Forbes. Wow.
That was 4 years ago. Have any of you thrown out your laptops or mobile phones yet?
Not at all.
Not yet.
Wow.
But see, this is what's so discouraging. I know you don't like the word, but here you've got Laura, you've got Jay, even myself. Then you have companies that get on stage in a little outfit and jump around and can raise billions of dollars. You've got a woman who cannot even have the box to draw blood at home. It's just a really good idea. And she can have, billions of dollars, and former general.
You're talking about Theranos, and she is going on trial soon, I think.
They're good storytellers and good salesmen, but it's the media who are writing all. I mean, sorry, Lauren, but you have to have people who are willing to be sold to. And so these are these great romantic, exciting stories that hype everybody up.
Well, let me just say, you're right. The media did fall for that, but only after a whole slew of investors fell for it. So it's not just the media.
No, you're totally right. But I think through like Inc. magazine covers over the last 10 years.
She was one of them.
Has anybody done a study to see how many of the people on the covers are still in business?
Hey, when I was at Inc. magazine, we put Jay Goltz on the cover. So
I'm still in business. I'm the one that's still in business.
Exactly. There you go. Evergreen businesses.
When you have an investor, why are they investing in businesses they don't know work?
No, I can tell you the answer. This is the simple answer, and I believe this is still true. Only 1 out of 7 venture capital deals work, but when they work, they really work, and they make $1 zillion. 6 times out of 7, they don't work.
But the characteristics you have to be that one business. It seems to me when you've got a business like Jimmy Bean Wool, it works. It's been working. It's a proven. It's like a car. You turn it on, there you go. Right? It's not going
to turn into $1 billion company. That's the problem.
It's not going to make an investor rich, right?
Right. So it gets back to this isn't the world we live in. That's the other world. And it is what it is. Number one rule of entrepreneurship, it is what it is. And that's what that is. So all we can do.
Jimmy Bean will make somebody rich.
Because the market's too small and it's
well, it's going to make its owners rich.
Yes.
Like even if it's an international market.
No, you need a disruptive new technology that because she's almost in the same business I am. What percentage?
You know what though? We have 2 players in our industry that both raised $60 million. One of them got bought for, I don't know, $250 million, and the other one, and then that got shut down, is still out there.
It's not hundreds of millions or billions. The point is, she's in the same business I'm in. It's a very small percentage of people actually go into a custom picture frame shop, and very few people knit their own stuff. It's not a mass market kind of thing, and as a result, the market's limited. All we can do is go check out other banks and get the damn loan so we own a building so that in 20 years, your son can say to me, hey, Uncle Jay, thank you so much. Because of you, look at the new Porsche convertible I bought. That's what we're talking about. Buying the building, and in 20 years, your kid's going to be rich. Boom.
Guys, we've done it again. We've completed our 34th straight podcast without a workplace injury.
Nice.
You don't know that. You don't know that.
Unless you count the injury to Jay's psyche.
No, I'm actually good. I'm good because I feel like even though Laura pretends like she's not listening to me, she's listening to me. Stop being discouraged. Go get the job done.
I can be discouraged and get the job done.
My thanks to Jay Goltz, Dana White, and Laura Zander. Thanks for listening, everybody. This episode was produced by Jess Thuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Remember, we started the 21 Hats podcast to help business owners feel a little less isolated, to let them know they aren't the only ones fighting these battles. If you got something out of this conversation, please help us reach more people. Tell a friend, subscribe and review us wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter at 21_hats. And let me know if you have a question or a comment or a topic you'd like us to cover. My email address is lfeldman@21hats.com. See you next time.